All right, everyone, it's time to talk about the martyrdom of Gab in the wake of this crazed Nazi synagogue shooter, because three things are being blamed for the shooting. Number one is obviously Trump. If you read read their articles on any of the corporate media sites, Trump causes violence. Trump's toxic environment. It's like, yeah, oh, okay, the Democratic Party doesn't contribute to that at all. It's all Trump. He's the total scapegoat for every violent act in the country. Oh, wait, the shooter was desperately anti-Trump, actually hated the dude. None of their articles are going to mention that, by the way. They're not going to point it out. They're just going to say, hey, he was an anti-Semite. Trump is kind of Hitler. So, like, they're totally linked, people. Number two is guns, although that's kind of an afterthought. They're like, ban guns now. It's like several of the guns he had were handguns, which none of you care anything about, even though they're responsible actually for more gun homicides in this country than any form of rifle. And then, of course, he had an AR-15, so that's the ultimate boogeyman gun. It's like if it had been an AK-47, their heads would spin. They'd be spinning around on their necks. Trying to fathom how that could possibly happen. Any other sporting rifle, it's like totally insane, dude. And here's the thing. Banning guns wouldn't have stopped this. Banning Trump wouldn't have stopped this. The shooter was anti-Trump. Like, he went way past far right and became basically a Nazgul or something like that. By the way, you do have to be a collectivist to believe in hardline ethno-nationalism. That's a facet of leftist politics. It's not a facet of libertarianism or the hard right. The hard right is more individualistic. Generally speaking, there's a skewing of that line now, where people that were like alt-right identitarian, they're branching out into like literal Nat Sock land and stuff like that. It's really, really funny. And then the third group that's being blamed, of course, is alt-tech. Gab, ooh, evil Gab. Too much free speech on that site, therefore Nazis. Gab is run by people who believe in free speech. Like, I use Gab. For all of these self-proclaimed experts that have never even used the platform, like the Krasensteins, that rambled about it. Within half an hour of the shooting, they were blaming Gab for it. And all the right-wing watches and the Voxes and HuffPost, they hate Gab. They hate alt-tech because, again, it's just like with Silicon Valley that they fought against years and years ago. They couldn't join them because they didn't understand them and they didn't understand how to compete on these independent platforms, and so they railed against them, and only recently have they begun to branch out into Silicon Valley's lamestream sites. In the last few years, they've sort of embraced, YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and stuff. They use the payment process. They were latecomers to the party, which is why they're struggling to catch up now. Now they see, oh shit, a whole nother generation of tech is coming along. And again, they're making the same mistakes. They're going to try to fight against sites like Gab and BitChute and Steemit and fucking Minds and all the others. They're going to fight crypto. They, attack crypto constantly. It's very funny that cryptocurrency should be worth as much as it is, considering it gets nonstop, nothing but negative coverage in the entire lamestream media worldwide and gets cracked down on by multiple governments like China and others. And then blockchain and the idea of mesh networks and free speech sites in general, it scares these people. They don't understand them. And so because they don't understand it, they lash out in ignorance. And they're going to try to get them deplatformed. What they're going to do is very much similar to when you have a virus and you deploy, antiviral drugs, or you have a bacteria, you're administering antibacterial agents. Evolution occurs. And eventually, there's a good video, what was it called? It was about bacterial evolution. They took agar and it was, and they had bacterial colonies. And then they had different layers of agar next to each other. And each successive layer had higher concentrations of antimicrobial compounds. And what would happen is the bacteria would coat the outer layers of agar, where it's easygoing, there's nothing to stop them. Eventually, a mutant arises. And it will spread out into the next layer, and it will populate it. And successively, over time, eventually what you get is a superbacteria that's pretty much immune to that actual material. That's what's going to happen with alt-tech. Silicon Valley, the big tech firms have already lost. The fact that alt-tech exists, the fact that millions of people felt it important to have libertarian free speech sites means that they've already lost. And the corporate media has already lost. They're going to keep waging the battle no matter how badly they lose anyway. They've got the money to continue being a thorn in the side of every libertarian in the entire world. And they're going to keep doing that. They're going to keep defaming these sites. It's like they defame people like me. Holt, 2 days ago, calling me far right. Once again, even though he's been told multiple times I'm not a conservative, he understands that. It's defamation. There's a point to it. He's trying to get me to platform, probably. did that to Sargon. It's very, very funny in retrospect, I'm sure, for him, his attack being somewhat ineffective, perhaps, on the liberalist side of the spectrum on YouTube, perhaps. But Gab, how is Gab responsible for the fact that a nut was using their platform? So he says, basically, fuck this, I'm going in, and then he goes in and shoots up the synagogue. What's Gab supposed to do in that situation? What are they fucking supposed to do? How are they supposed to know that it's not satire? And why is it he has a Facebook page, Bowers, the shooter, allegedly. He has a Facebook page. Why is nobody saying Zuckerberg needs to do more? Zuckerberg is responsible. Facebook causes hate. Facebook is a Nazi site. It's because they can't get any more censored than they already are without destroying their own site entirely. So they'll focus on alt tech. They'll focus on this site, even though alt tech exists because the big tech giants made stupid mistakes. They decided to censor people continuously, to kick more and more people off. They deplatform, they try to ruin lives in tandem with the corporate media and with the sort of global political elite, the establishments of various Western nations, including Eastern nations. Don't get me started about Putin supposedly being nationalistic or any stupid shit like that. So you've got a weird situation where an anti-Trump shooter is blamed on Trump, and because they happen to have had a Gab page, Gab is singularly responsible for their actions. Well, big tech can't even decide whether it's a platform or a publisher. Like, they refuse to make that differentiation. Gab's like, no, we're a platform. Yeah, people put whatever they want on our site. They cooperate with law enforcement, and yet they get banned by PayPal. Stripe is probably going to drop them, and their cloud hosting is apparently dropped them. What does it cause? It starts with a J. I can't remember the name. It's one of these smaller sites. So now they got to find a new cloud host. They got to find a new payment processor, although, basically payment processing is a monopoly. As far as functionality, as far as being tied in with banks and other goods and services, it's basically all PayPal and Stripe and, Venmo exists. I don't even know exactly what that is. Isn't that PayPal linked anyway? I think it is. You've got some libertarian options for payment processing, but they're not interconnected with anything. It's basically you're going to have to pay a fee to convert currency, probably. It's stupid shit. Yeah, blame Gab. Yeah, one of their users got violent. You know how many murderers probably have Facebook pages? So tell Zuckerberg about it and tell him to do something about it. You're the ones that created these echo chambers to begin with by deplatforming people. You have caused this particular instance of violence. Not Trump and not Gab. And certainly not firearms themselves in a vacuum. That's about all. Peace out.